The San Francisco 49ers are coming off a devastating loss once again in the Super Bowl, as for the second time in the Kyle Shanahan era, they have lost the Super Bowl after having a double digit lead, which I will get into later in the video. But in today's video, I kind of just want to do a quick little debriefing or quick little recap of the Super Bowl, kind of the issues I had with the Niners, and then also we have to talk about their free agency issues that are definitely on the rise, because this team does not have too much cap space. They got probably just enough to make something happen. Like, they've already made a few moves that I'll get into, but it's definitely going to be a tight squeeze to try to re-sign some of their key free agents. But starting off with the Super Bowl, I thought that, now I will say, let me start by saying this. Brock Purdy enthusiasts, please don't come for me in the comments. I thought he played fine, but like almost everyone on Twitter was saying, I think this game, while he was good, I'm not saying he was bad. Don't come for me in the comments. I'm just saying, Brock Purdy, this game was a pretty good example of the difference between a Patrick Mahomes and a Brock Purdy. Now, I know that's saying a lot, right? Or ain't saying much because it's Patrick Mahomes, but he did start the game off good, right? Purdy started off good, but then that third quarter, right, after starting off like 8 for 10 early in the game, he went about 4 for 13, kind of like that in the second, third quarter range. He went 4 for 13. They had 2 first downs in the third quarter. Like, that's what really started to open up this game and give KC the opportunity to get back in it. Now, obviously, that wasn't helped by a punt where the ball hits dude's foot. Ray McCloud misses the ball, and that leads to a MVS touchdown the next play. So obviously, there were certain things that were uncontrollable that happened, but then you also had a lot of penalties, specifically false starts, that was controllable. You know what I mean? So Niners definitely had multiple opportunities to win this game, and personally, while I don't blame this game on Brock Purdy, right, I do feel like that third quarter where he was struggling and the team as a whole struggled definitely left the door wide open for Kansas City as they went on to choke another double-digit lead in the big game. And we will definitely get into Kyle Shanahan at the end of the video, because it's getting ridiculous at this point, the resume that he's built. Because anyways, I'll get into that later. Right now, we're going to talk about them free agents, because, boy, I don't know what the Niners are going to do about Brandon Ayuk. I seriously don't understand why they haven't re-signed him already. Like, he is your best receiver. You've already paid Debo, and he's not your best receiver. So, hot take here, but I think you should honestly consider trading Debo. And I know that's a scorching hot take, but if he keeps getting injured, man, and that contract is big, and you got to pay Purdy soon, you might have to get rid of one of these receivers. Like, you can't be paying Debo and Brandon Ayuk $20 million, which is what I think is the issue right now. So right now, I feel like they got to choose between Debo and Ayuk, and honestly, I'm choosing Ayuk. I'm not gonna lie. So I would do everything in my power to extend Ayuk. You've already released Eric Armstead, which was insane to me, right? Like, that's one of your best players on your defense, and you straight up released him. I'm assuming to save cap, as well as they restructured Fred Warner's contract. Just found that out before I started this video. So they're definitely trying to get cap space to sign some of these free agents back. But they've already lost Ken Law, but I'm assuming Niners fans aren't too fond of him. I wouldn't call him a bust necessarily, but I'm thinking he probably was a bust, because I'm assuming they drafted him within the last 3 years. I can't remember what draft he was in, but they didn't re-sign him. He was drafted recently. You know what that means. Same for Clelin Ferrell, another bust. Now, that one I do know is a bust because he was on the Raiders. Jennings got re-signed. That's a good deal because he was a bit bigger part of this team than most realized. Randy Gregory, you let him walk. I'm not gonna lie. They've already signed some DNs. They've signed Leonard Floyd to a 2-year $20 million, as well as Gross Matos from the Panthers, 2 years $18 million, which also signals that they're not re-signing Chase Young, who I thought they should be trying everything in their power to keep, but obviously they're not going to have the money to do so. So Chase Young probably ends up walking, which I can't believe they're going to let him walk, considering that they traded for him. But it's looking like they pretty much have no choice but to let him walk. So it's definitely an interesting free agency for the Niners, and they still are going to have a lot of needs that are going to have to be filled, specifically O-line. That was a big issue. As much as I love to joke around and call Brock Purdy a CMC merchant, we also have to acknowledge and be fair and acknowledge that O-line outside of one position, Trent Williams, other than Trent Williams, it was a bit underwhelming. He was under pressure a lot, especially in the Super Bowl. So you have to address that. I don't know if you do that through free agency or the draft, but one of the two. And as well as linebacker, obviously that Dre Greenlaw, that was an unfortunate incident, but you still need depth at linebacker in my opinion. You have to replace Armstead. That's not going to be as easy, but it has to happen. Easier said than done, but make it happen. And then Tayshaun Gibson was your starting safety. He's finna walk, most likely. So there's a couple of spots that the Niners are going to have to pick their spots and say, okay, we're going to address this position in the draft. We're going to address this position through free agency. Safety, I think they can do through free agency. There's a lot of safeties out there. But O-line, you have to do that through the draft, most likely. Because if not, you're going to have to overpay, and you already don't have money to spend. So that's definitely going to be interesting to see them navigate. But now we have to get into Kyle Shanahan. Like, 8-4 playoff record, 10 wins in 4 of his 6 seasons as head coach. He's not a bad coach. But in the same breath, you have a track record of 4 games now where you're choking leads. Twice to KC, obviously 28-3. We don't need to talk about it too much. And then also a 10-point lead in the fourth quarter to the Rams, who are eventually the champs. So as much as like I said, love to crack jokes on Purdy, it's definitely not his fault that they lost this game, right? He could have played better, but it was also a lot of things out of his control that happened. But Purdy is going to become an issue very soon because they are going to have to pay him a lot sooner than they would have a first-round quarterback who had a 5th-year option. So, in my humble opinion, this is honestly and truthfully the Niners' last real chance at a Super Bowl, at least with Purdy on that rookie contract.